Hi there, how are you doing? I welcome you to analysis of yet another mock 5. And in this mock, let us go ahead and start with our first passage. So here it is on the screen. By now you've read it, so let's just work on it together. So it introduces a Roman historian called Mircea Eliade. And we basically go ahead and talk about his take, his idea of what the sacred is, right? And then sacred was the opposite of profane, yet the sacred could erupt. That's a new word. Erupt basically means to enter somewhere forcibly or suddenly. So sacred could enter into profane existence suddenly. How? And then there are these number of predictable ways that have been talked about here. Thereafter, we are talking about Eliade also developed the concepts of sacred time and sacred space. Cosmogonic myths. Cosmogony is a theory, or as some people say, a story of the origin and development of the universe, the solar system, the Earth-Moon system. So when you say cosmogonic myths, we are talking about all those myths that are somehow linked with or associated with the origin and development of the universe, especially our solar system, even there particularly the Earth-Moon system. And then lot of these again words, and then the third paragraph goes ahead and talks about Jonathan Zeitel Smith. He was profoundly influenced by Eliade. At the same time, after, however, you have a very important idea that he soon began to set out his own intellectual agenda, which put him at odds with Eliade's paradigm. Okay, so first Eliade challenged whether the Eliadean construction of sacred time and sacred space were truly universal, and then the next paragraph talks about the second point of contention. Smith introduced a new self-awareness and humility to the study of religion, right? So you have it all there, and then towards the end he is using this word conservative in a specific manner. So you know, conservative is somebody who emphasizes the importance of preserving traditional cultural and religious values. Okay, these are people who oppose change, especially sudden change. But then the last couple of lines are also equally important. So here is the summary of the paragraph. You can go ahead, have a look at it, and then we can refer to our questions. So there you go. Question number 1. Based on the passage, which one of the following would not be regarded as a sacred by Homo religiosus? Now, in order to answer this question, we basically need to refer to the first two paragraphs. Let me highlight some lines from there. So first paragraph says sky and earth deities were ubiquitous. And then second paragraph has this sentence that says they consecrated time through repetitions of these cosmogonic myths and dedicated sacred spaces according to their relationship to the symbolisms of center. And then there was this thing about excess mundi, and then that included holy cities, places and temples. Now going by that, if you look at a river that is considered a physical manifestation of the Almighty. So this is a holy place and therefore it will be regarded as sacred. Now we are being asked which would not be regarded as sacred, right? So A cannot be our answer. How about B? A specific species of tree that is believed to have healing properties. So is that sacred? Is this holy? Does this represent a deity? We don't know. It actually depends on whether these healing properties in this tree are coming from a deity or a god or a holy entity or not. So we cannot determine whether the specific species of tree will be considered sacred going by the definition provided in the passage. So let's keep this in suspense. This could be our answer though. C, a constellation believed to have birthed the universe. Sacred as it is related to cosmogonic myths. Remember, cosmogonic myths that are associated with the origin of the universe. So this is definitely sacred and therefore not our answer. D, a specific cave where a goddess is believed to have resided. Once again, this will become a holy place and therefore sacred and thus not our answer. So I think through elimination, we can be reasonably certain that our answer must be option B. So for question number 1, B is our answer, and with that, let's move over to our next question. Which one of the following correctly expresses the main dissimilarity between Iliad's and Smith's approaches? So there are two dissimilarities which are mentioned, right, in the 4th and the 5th paragraph respectively. So 4th paragraph, Smith challenged whether the Iliadian construction of sacred time and sacred space were truly universal. So Iliad thought they're universal. Smith was like, no, that's not necessarily the case. And 5th paragraph says that he introduced new self-awareness and humility to the study of religion, right? So let us go ahead and look at A. Now, the passage says that the Iliadian construction of sacred time and sacred space were truly universal, right? Sacred time and sacred space. Whereas in this particular option, we are talking about universality of the sacred, not sacred time and sacred space, right? And therefore, I think this does not even represent what Iliad said correctly. So it won't be able to give us a dissimilarity either. So let's rule out A. How about B? What should be our take here? Now B says importance of sacred time and space, while Smith argues that some culture seeks to escape. Now see, according to the passage, Iliad says sacred time, space and sacred space are universal. Smith does not agree. Does B talk about a dissimilarity? Both of them believe in the importance of sacred time and sacred space. The difference or the bone of contention here is that whether they are universal or not. So B is not highlighting that and thus can be ruled out. How about C? Iliad emphasizes the role of myths and rituals in consecrating time and space. True. While Smith argues that religion should be studied with self-awareness and humility. Now, both of these halves are individually true. Both of these are individually true, but they are not really talking about the difference when they have between these two individuals. Okay. Especially in the first half, when you say Iliad emphasizes the role of myths and rituals, this is a point where there is no difference between them, right? So this is not a dissimilarity. Yes, in the second part, it does talk about a difference. So the problem with C is that a half of it is correct, the other half incorrect. Half of it, the latter half, that talks about a dissimilarity, the first half does not. So let's keep C in suspense. How about D? Iliad argues that religion reinforces the natural and social order, while Smith argues that religion can also be used to critique and create alternative visions of society. Absolutely yes. According to the 5th paragraph, this is indeed a point of difference between the two, right? So remember in the 5th paragraph where we talked about that right-wing, left-wing difference. That's what is being captured here. So D does not have any part which is talking about similarity. C has a part which talks about a similarity instead of a dissimilarity, and that is what makes D a superior answer choice, and thus our answer to question number 2 should be option D. Let's move over to the next one. Question number 3. So the passage talks about different types of societies and cultures. However, the concept of sacred exists in all of them. The way it is treated, the way it is approached, that could be different, but the concept of sacred definitely existed in all of them. It just manifests itself in different ways. And that is why when we look at all of these options, we should go ahead and side with C. C is unlikely to follow from the passage because it talks about a society that is not concerned with the question of God. Passage does not mention any such society, right? So according to passage, yes, there are societies where God manifests in nature. Society that believes in God and otherworldly being, yes. Believes in religious symbols that reinforce prevailing natural and social order, yes. 4th paragraph. So A, B and D do follow from some part or the other. C is not to be seen anywhere, and that is why it is unlikely to follow, and thus our answer. So question number 3, option C. Let's move over to question number 4. So as per the passage, the sacred mountain can symbolically represent all of the following except. So you remember in the second paragraph it talked about sacred spaces and their symbolism to the center. This included the sacred mountain or axis mundi, but also holy cities, places, temples. So the point of intersection between the sacred and the profane has been very explicitly stated in the passage. So this represents the sacred mountain. We are looking for except. Our answer should be something that does not. So A is ruled out. A holy place, yes, it is. It can be represented symbolically. C, a place with a relationship to the symbolism of the center mentioned in the passage as a sacred space, and therefore it can also be ruled out. D, a place that serves as a symbol of power and authority in traditional social structures. The passage does not talk about traditional social structures or authority at all, and therefore this cannot, going by the passage, represent the sacred mountain symbolically, and thus D should be our answer. So question number 4, our answer is option D. So that takes care of our first passage along with all of its questions.